Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Living Well class where we are talking about eating to support healthy blood pressure, and specifically with a little focus on taming that salt shaker. So, my name is Joni Rampolla. I am one of the registered licensed dietitians with the Giant Company, your Giant and Martin's. And today, doing a deep dive into blood pressure and its relationship to sodium, because everybody knows somebody that has a high blood pressure. So, it's good just to learn a little bit about it. So, some people say, my blood pressure is a little high, but it's not a big deal because I feel really good. And I just want to say that's not the best mindset because high blood pressure or hypertension, as your doctor may call it, is known as the silent killer because there usually are no symptoms. It can increase your risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, and it happens when the force of blood pushing against those artery walls is consistently too high. So you may get one high blood pressure reading, but if it's consistently high, that's what becomes a problem. So this is what the blood pressure chart looks like. And I'm showing you this chart because last year it changed. And while the normal, or the first actually, normal, elevated, stage one, stage two stayed the same. It's the bottom two categories. They separated out into two instead of one. So normal blood pressure is always 120 as that upper number, systolic, less than 120, and less than 80 as the bottom diastolic number. That's considered normal. And then there are different ways it can elevate, but just want to talk about the severe. If that upper number is higher than 180 and or, right, and or the bottom number is higher than 120 and you don't have any symptoms, you feel great, it's still an indication you need to contact your healthcare provider, right? That's a sign to reach out because it could be problematic. If you're experiencing those same numbers, but you have symptoms, and at the bottom of the screen, you see what the symptoms could be: chest pain, shortness of breath, back pain, numbness, weakness, change, or difficulty speaking. That is considered an emergency. You call 911 or you get taken to the nearest emergency room for treatment. So that part is new and just want to share that with you because it is a good idea to know your numbers. So, what affects our blood pressure? There's not one thing, right? Salt isn't the only thing. So, your overall diet quality matters as well as your sodium intake. And then these nutrients that help improve blood pressure, like are you getting enough potassium, magnesium, calcium in the diet? What's your stress level and your emotional load? Because stress, when it's chronic, can make your blood pressure stay elevated. How's your sleep, right? Are you sleeping that 7 to 9 hours that's recommended, or are you getting poor quality sleep? How's your activity, right? Are you moving your body because activity can lower blood pressure? How's your weight? Weight and genetics can also affect your blood pressure. So can your alcohol and nicotine use. And certain medications or health conditions can also affect blood pressure. But many of these factors are within your control. So it's not like high blood pressure just happens to me. There are some genetic cases where it does, or some disease states or medications you take that raise it. But for most people, most factors are in your control. So who is at risk? We used to think it's the disease for older people, but we're not seeing that anymore. We're seeing it in all age groups, in our children, our young adults, our adults, and our older adults. So how do I get my best blood pressure reading? And this can't always happen, and we know that, but best is sitting in a chair with support for your back, both feet flat on the ground, your arm extended and supported at heart level. And it is important to stay quiet and still. I usually do a deep breath when somebody's taking my blood pressure just to calm myself down for that rushing around getting in position. And I know sometimes we are sitting on a doctor's table when we get our blood pressure done, so our feet don't touch the ground and there is no back support. But dangle your feet straight, don't cross them. That's what changes blood pressure, crossing them. Leave them straight and try and sit up as straight as you can. Food is the most powerful tool to assist with blood pressure control. So whether we're looking at the new pyramid that just came out or our, previous plate, either one, blood pressure supportive eating pattern is the same under both guidelines. It's a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables, right? Eat more fruits and vegetables. It includes whole grains because you want that fiber. It focuses on lean proteins. It contains healthy fats being like olive oil, avocado oil, less of the sodium, added sugar, refined carbohydrates, which are pretty much white flour foods, and ultra processed foods. So it's not a diet, but it's kind of an eating, living pattern that you choose it to be flexible to your specific living style, right? So it's realistic for you. So why today are we talking about taming the salt shaker? Why are we honing in on sodium? And that is because 9 out of 10 Americans eat more sodium than is recommended for a healthy diet. Nearly half of American adults have high blood pressure. That to me was shocking. And 90% of American adults are expected to develop high blood pressure in their lifetime. So that's like most of us, right? That's kind of amazing if you think about it. And consuming too much sodium is strongly linked to the development of or worsening of high blood pressure. And those numbers are according to the Center for Disease Control. So what do you need to know about sodium? So sodium is not salt. Salt is made up of sodium and chloride put together. But the goal for sodium is 2,300 milligrams a day, which comes out to the amount of sodium in about 1 teaspoon of salt. So that's not much salt if you think about it. And sometimes doctors recommend, if you have high blood pressure, lowering that sodium a bit to 1,500 milligrams a day. So where do we get the majority of our sodium from? Most of it is restaurant meals or fast food. So fast food could be eating out of the house, restaurant meals, or it also could be that frozen pizza that we bring into our home. Sauces, dressings, condiments, our processed or deli meats, packaged salads, canned soups, frozen TV dinner kind of things, and things people don't think about are bread, right? Bread is a very non-salty tasting food, but it's not that bread itself is so salty, it's the amount of bread that we eat in a day that is one of the major contributors of sodium in our diet. So this is just a diagram picture to see it visually to understand where the sodium comes from in our food. So most of our sodium comes from our processed foods and restaurant foods. That's about 77%. There's sodium naturally occurring, right? If I look at something that doesn't have sodium in it, it would have like 15 milligrams of sodium per serving. Like my green bean has 15 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's such a low amount, but there is still some in there in everything you eat. Then there's the salt that you add at the table. That comes to about 6% of the sodium. And then the salt that you add during cooking, that comes to about 5% of your daily sodium. So as you can see, while, it still matters the amount you add during cooking or the amount you salt your food with your salt shaker, but the majority comes from processed and restaurant foods. So this is a nutrition facts label, and just want to talk you through how to look at this. So if you see the green is start here, and what matters the most of this whole label is what is the serving size all the information below is based on. So I have no idea what this product is. It might be an ice cream is what I'm thinking because it has good amount of sugar and calcium in it, and it's 2/3 of a cup, and that is the ice cream serving. So if a serving size is 2/3 of a cup, but I decide I want a cup and a third, which is like doubling this number, all the other information has to double, right? It's not just, oh, well, the amount of calories and fat and sodium stay the same, even though I'm doubling my portion. No, everything would have to double. So the serving size compared to what you're eating is so important to understand. Then in red is those to limit, and sodium is in there. So the percentages of everything, so it comes in grams and then percentages. If I look at the percentages, low sodium would be 5% or less. So this is 7% sodium. So it's still kind of low. It's not a high sodium food. High in anything here, sodium or any other nutrient, would be 20%. So this item happens to be high in added sugar. It's also high in calcium and iron, but low in saturated fat, cholesterol, and fairly low in sodium. So just to give you an idea how to look at those, I thought that was important to point it out. Here's some label lingo, right? If the claim says salt-free, it means a product contains less than 5 milligrams of sodium per serving. If it's low sodium or low salt, an item per serving, an item is 140 milligrams or less. That is considered a low sodium item. And some items can never be low sodium, and we're going to talk about that later. Lower or reduced salt or sodium means they have their original version. The lower or reduced salt version is 25% less sodium than the food it's compared to, their original version, but that doesn't mean it's a low salt item. Lightly salted means 50% less sodium than the original version, and no added salt or no salt added means exactly that. There's no salt or sodium added to that product. There may be naturally occurring sodium, but nothing was added during processing. So these are two products, not picking on these brands. This could be any brand, just trying to show you what that reduced sodium or less sodium actually means. So this is soy sauce. The regular version is 960 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. And then the reduced sodium is 590 milligrams. So if 140 milligrams is considered a low sodium food, a less sodium soy sauce is still a very high sodium food. So just want to make that distinction. Same with taco seasoning. Again, it could be any brand of taco seasoning. This isn't brand specific by any means. Taco seasoning is one of those things you can't find it in low sodium. That doesn't mean that I won't eat taco seasoning. You just have to know that would be a meal that I want to pair with more vegetables or things that don't have sodium in it. So if the original is 280 milligrams of sodium per serving, when I get 25% less sodium, it's 210. So still above that 140 low sodium serving. So I just thought just pointing that out was interesting to know. So now I want to look at a can of our green beans. So if I look at a can of green beans and I look at the nutrition facts label, it says in this can, there are 3.5 servings of green beans. I don't know about you, but I could eat that whole can. Like that's not, I don't see dividing that between 3.5 portions. Um, so if on the top right is the original green bean, and when you add sodium, it does make the green bean color a little more green and a little more vibrant. And if you notice the color of the pictures, the green bean does look more vibrant even in the can. But regular green beans have 290 milligrams of sodium per serving. If I were to eat that whole can, which for me I think is possible, it would have over 1,000 milligrams of sodium per can. So I could potentially eat 1,000 milligrams if I ate that can. Then there's our low sodium, which you see in the middle picture there. You see the words low sodium above cut green beans. That is 120 milligrams, right? And it's considered a low sodium food because 140 or less is a low sodium food. But if I ate the whole can, I ate all 3.5 servings, that would put me at 420 milligrams per can. And then the bottom can, I circled in red where it says no salt added, right? Because it is hard to see. It's hard to tell the difference between the two. But that has 15 milligrams of naturally occurring sodium. None was added. And if I ate the whole can, 52 milligrams of sodium per can. So 52 compared to 1,000 is a really big deal. So looking at vegetables, you can rinse them with water, and I encourage you to do that. And according to research, rinsing with water reduces the sodium by 40%, and that is amazing. But if you think about it, what does that mean? That means that 60% of the sodium remains. So just want to give that, something to think about in what you're choosing. So if you can add some flavor to your plate rather than using a salt shaker, herbs and spices add a great depth of flavor. Citrus or vinegar can make things taste good. I love balsamic vinegar on some veggies. Even just how you cook them, like roasting or grilling, can change the flavor to make foods taste better. There are some nutrients that actually help lower blood pressure, and they are potassium, magnesium, calcium, and fiber. And these are obviously not a complete list of foods. This is just giving you some ideas where this nutrient is found, but each could have an extensive list of foods that they are found in. But the more colorful your plate, the more you include different food groups, the easier it is to get all this nutrition that you need to help regulate um, your blood pressure, because when sodium is extra high, potassium, magnesium, calcium go lower. When you start eating more of those foods, sodium goes lower inside your body. So they are good balancers for blood pressure. And some people say, you know what, I just don't like low sodium foods. I need that salt shaker to make things taste good. And I do want to say that you can change your palate. It's um, a taste that you get used to, right? If you're used to high sugar, you're craving that high sugar taste. People that don't eat sugar, they don't miss it and they'll taste something that has a little sweetness and be like, wow, that's sweet. Same with salt. People that avoid salt for a little bit, then you taste, oh my God, that soup is so salty, I can't eat it. How can you eat that? So you can adjust your palate with practice. But don't try and cut out all salt overnight. It can be harder to do than making small, gradual changes that you almost don't notice. So I'm going to play a little game here. How many milligrams of sodium in this product? So we can't call it out or share. So I'm just going to ask you to think about one slice of American cheese, just one slice. How many milligrams of sodium do you think one slice contains? And if I'm making a sandwich, there's often more than one slice on it, right? But just one slice is 330 milligrams of sodium. Just when I say packaged products, I want you to understand what that is. So again, not picking on any brands here. There's kind of healthier cereals. I tried to pick a cereal that I think most people would agree is healthier, right? It's not a sugar cereal. It's not artificial color. There are no marshmallows in it. It's whole grain, right? It's a good for you cereal. But there is sodium, and I feel like cereals either have more sodium or more sugar, something in them to make them taste good. So in this wheat Chex, there is 340 milligrams of sodium for 1 cup. And sometimes people eat more than 1 cup. Pasta sauce. I feel like everybody kind of knows pasta sauce has some sodium in it, but this is only half a cup. I know I love Italian food and I love sauce on everything, and I definitely eat more than half a cup for sure. But in just half a cup of traditional pasta sauce, and again, this isn't brand specific, this could be any brand sitting here. I just happened to pick one that was common, 450 milligrams of sodium. And then bread, 100% whole wheat, tried to pick the healthier bread, 130, but that's one slice. So you're doubling that because most people have two slices. So how much bread are you eating in a day can affect. So how do I lower sodium? You want to read the food labels as we went through, eat fewer processed foods, don't add table salt. If you can, try herbs, spices, lemon, the way you cook, do things a little bit different, and cook more at home. Cooking lets you control the amount of sodium in your food. And I just wrote down some simple swaps that I think, people can look at, whether it's chips, try an unsalted popcorn, and popcorn, of course, is a whole grain. Instead of a deli meat, try a grilled chicken on a sandwich. Instead of a creamy dressing, which tends to have a little more sodium than olive oil and vinegar might. Instead of white bread, try a whole grain bread. So whole grain has a little bit less than white bread, but it's still in there. Soda is an area where we get sodium as well. So swapping out for, you know, a water that has citrus or basil or cucumber and mint, you can flavor it different ways. And instead of takeout, try one home cooked meal. And guiding stars is another way to help you quickly find foods, not only with the best nutritional value, but that are lower sodium, because it earns a star by having more vitamins, minerals, fiber, whole grains, omega-3 fatty acids. And we want those minerals that we talked about and fiber specifically, and less saturated fat, trans fat, added sodium is in there, right? So it earns a star if it doesn't have a ton of sodium. A lot of cereals don't earn stars because of the sodium in them. Added sugar or other additives like colors. So 1 star is good, 2 stars is better, 3 stars is best. And then we said stress affects it, your blood pressure, and it can. Food is important, but also how we feel. Stress can tighten blood vessels, increase our heart rate, elevate those hormones, increase food cravings, and we don't want that chronic pressure. Stress can also influence our everyday habits that affect our blood pressure, like poor sleep, skipping meals, less physical activity, emotional eating, relying on caffeine or alcohol to cope. So none of these things make somebody undisciplined. They're human responses, but together they can quietly push your blood pressure higher. So we want you to do something to relax, get a little exercise, give your blood pressure time to settle. And these are some stress relieving tools. Your breath is a big one. Take 5 to 10 slow, deep breaths. Get a walk outside, be close to nature, do some stretching or yoga or prayer or meditation. It has to feel right for you and your body, whatever that is, connecting with people, laughing, getting enough sleep. Even 2 minutes of doing some calming activity for you can shift your biology. Movement, like physical activity, aim for 30 minutes on most days, and it can be broken up into smaller time frames, like 10 minutes after each meal. You can walk, you can dance, you can cycle, you can do yoga. Whatever it is, movement lowers your blood pressure and improves your mood. And it can be built into your daily life, however that works out for you. Doing, household chores, they even count. Taking the stairs, no need to feel overwhelmed by I have to go to the gym for an hour. It's not like that. It's just moving your body in a way that gets your heart rate up for a little bit every day. And then alcohol. Alcohol raises blood pressure, just keep control of it. So in summary, reach and maintain a healthy weight. Losing even 5% of your weight if you're overweight or obese can really help. Eat a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, poultry, nuts, seeds, healthy oils. Get some activity. Recommended is 30 minutes a day for like 5 days a week. Don't smoke. Limit alcohol. Take your medication. And know what your blood pressure number should be and work to keep it at that level. So that is what we had for you today about blood pressure, and I am going to answer your questions now. So stay on if you want to go through the questions, but thank you so much for joining and take care, everyone. Let me just